Call to order, Bedford Township Planning Commission, regular meeting, March 14th, 2018. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Stephan, if you could call the roll.
Mr. Zybeck.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Garvick.
Here.
Steffen's here. Mr. Fritz.
Here.
Did I get Mr. Fredericks already?
Here.
Frederick. And then Chairman Anger.
Here. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda, if you've had a chance to look it over.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as published.
Support.
Just take a roll call.
Mr. Frederick.
Yes.
Mr. Zybeck.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Garvick.
Yes.
Stephan votes yes. Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Mr. Anger.
Yes. Motion carried. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of February 28th, 2018. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes of February 28th, 2018.
Support.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Zybeck.
Yes.
Mr. Frederick.
Yes.
Mr. Garvick.
Yes.
Stephan abstains. Mr. Fritz.
Yes.
Chairman Anger.
Yes. Motion carried. Next, we have public comment. This is for anybody in the public who would like to come up and speak at this time. Once again, if there's no public comment, then we can continue to the new business. Karen, can you give us an up?
Yes. This request is for final site plan approval for the Bedford O&M treatment plant located on parcel number 5802-101-04000, otherwise 327 Lavoie Road. The subject site consists of approximately 17.5 acres, which is the location of the wastewater treatment plant for Bedford Township. The submitted site plan is for improvements to the site and is being submitted by the Monroe County Drain Commission on behalf of Bedford Township. The submitted site plan is to renovate and expand the existing administration building, an additional 1,087 square feet, and to remove the existing chlorine contact tanks, number 1 and number 2, to construct a filter and UV building and a filter backwash storage tank. On March 5th, 2018, the Board of Zoning Appeals granted a variance to allow gravel to serve as hard surface on the site, as there is already existing gravel within the site, and that's been since 1969. And the access road is for contractors' employees' use, and the site is not accessed by the general public. As this submittal is to improve the treatment plant for Bedford Township, the Monroe County Drain Commission will work in conjunction with their engineering firm, Spicer Group, and the township engineer, Manikin Smith Group, when moving forward with construction on site. Bedford Township Fire Department has reviewed and submitted the submitted site plan and provided an approval letter on March 8th, 2018. Mr. Sergo, Monroe County Deputy Drain Commissioner, will attend the meeting to answer any questions or concerns the Planning Commission may have.
If you could just state your name and...
Tim Sergo, Deputy Drain Commissioner. I'm also a Bedford resident. What would you like to know? As far as the plant was built in 1969, it has had a few small overhaul or improvements since then. This is the first major one. We have quite a bit of infrastructure that's very aged and needs fixing and replacing. It's about $11.2 million project in total. This project started about 3 years ago with getting it's been a process where we got a grant, a 90-10 match grant for the township, And as a result, we were able to do an iodine study, which then made us eligible for low-interest funding. Currently, we have gotten the funding. It is at 2% interest rate from the state of Michigan for 20 years. So we can borrow up to $11 million for 20 years at 2%. That's pretty phenomenal. So today, you're being asked to approve those site changes that are required. There is no additional capacity. We're just revamping the existing and modernizing the plant. And this current expansion or construction phase should take us 15 to 20 years before we'll have to revisit things at the plant unless the government changes the regulations.
Or till next year, whichever comes first.
Yeah. No, we've not had all that many different construction phases at that plant through the years. I think less than one handful in 40-some years. That's pretty good.
Yes, Joe?
Tim, does, I know it should not add on and stuff. What's the capacity? How many more houses can be hooked up?
But there's still plenty of capacity at the plant. The maximum peak flow is 11.2 million gallons per day. We have seen that flow. But one of the things that we're achieving is more efficient processes, one. And two, we are going to be doing some work on the collection system. We currently are doing that now, fixing manholes. And then there are some sanitary sewers that need to be lined with in situ form or type material because they have cracks that go the whole length of the pipe, and a lot of stormwater is coming in. So what the state and feds want, and we do too, is we don't want to be treating stormwater. One of the programs we've also implemented is as we discover them, we help people get their sump pumps disconnected from the sanitary and pump it to the road ditch or a storm sewer.
I mean, just to say, in front of my house, the sanitary sewer sits in the bottom of the ditch.
Yep. Yeah, that was common design. You know, they're in the road right-of-ways. You're in an area there where it's getting pretty shallow too because of the rock.
Okay.
But we do seal those manholes and make sure they're tightened and everything else, and raise them if necessary to get them out of the flow of the ditch. That's why you'll see them sticking up sometimes 2 or 3 feet above the ditch.
Mr. Frederick?
Well, Tim, you're expanding the administrative building. You put more people over there?
No, basically, they have no room. If I were to take you to the plant,
I've
and
been there.
currently what we've
Been there,
we
been
have
there,
to
done
meet-
that.
we have to meet out in the shop.
Yeah.
They have an area where they have 3 desks put together, and they have a little table they fold up.
So
and
it's
use
still
as a little
there?
Conference table.
It was there, that was there 15 years ago, just about.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is that times have changed, and we have no showering facilities, so we're taking another part of the plant, and we're updating some lockers and putting in a couple showers and making sure they're co-ed and things like that, because eventually we will have
Okay.
female treatment plant operators. We don't
I haven't
currently.
been over the plant for some time, but I remember being over there before.
They're jam-packed.
Hasn't changed much, okay.
Yeah, and basically, one of the things that we're doing is we're part of that expansion is we're building a new lab and modernizing it, and then we're taking the old lab and incorporating that as an area where we can meet.
Okay, thank you.
With the new filter system, is that going to make it more efficient then versus the chlorine?
Yeah, we haven't been treating with chlorine for quite a long time. Basically, we're changing our filter system. It's called a fuzzy filter. It's a fairly new technology, but we went and visited. We actually had a demonstration come to the plant. We ran the filter on a kind of like a temporary basis through a small portion of the flow to verify. And the other thing that we're going to be doing is we're adding UV treatment before we release the water to go back into Halfway Creek. And literally, the water is going to be very, very clean leaving that plant.
So is that going to eliminate a lot of the traditional chemicals used in treatment facilities then, with the upgrades of these UV systems?
We don't really use a whole lot of chemicals. Basically, a treatment plant operate is that you're using microorganisms and you're rotating them, and they're aerobic and anaerobic, and those live enzymes and organisms are creating and breaking down all the materials. And you go through a series of process, and then you filter at the end in UV and then send the water back. It's an interesting concept, and some places are doing that. We wouldn't be doing that, but you could actually take that water and treat it for drinking water, and probably be a little easier than treating lake water from Lake Erie. I know it's not something you want to think about, is it?
I actually thought that's what this is going towards, so it's
No,
not.
no. No, we just want to make sure that Bedford Township is not contributing to any of the problems of algae blooms with Lake Erie, because the water we're discharging is relatively very clean.
And as far as the driveway, as far as I'm concerned, it makes sense to be gravel. It allows more drainage through it, and it was already approved under the BZA too, so.
Yeah, that's just an access to get to that side of the
Yeah.
plant. We anticipate it'll probably be used, it will never be used on a regular basis. We have to get a piece of equipment in there about once every 8 months to, the Vector truck to help clean the filters. So it's just an access drive for the most part.
Yeah, it makes sense to do it that way.
Yeah, and a lot of the plant already, if you go there, everything has stone around it already, and they spray and make sure the weeds is kept down, and as a result, the only really asphalt on the plant is the actual parking lot and
the entrance.
maintenance buildings.
Yeah. Okay.
If there's, Mr. Fritz?
I came in a little early because I was having a hard time understanding what was new construction and what was demolished because of the site plan, but, and I agree, I prefer to see the gravel parking rather than asphalt because of the runoff. But based on the small amount of construction activity, I'd like to make a motion to approve. So I made that motion.
I'll support that motion.
Can you take order?
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Zybek?
Yes.
Mr. Garvik?
Yes.
Mr. Fritz?
Yes.
Mr. Anger?
Yes. Motion carried. All right, we have one more item in the new business. Karen, if you go over that with us?
Yes, this request is for final site plan approval for the Bedford Township Ivor J. Lindsay Housing located on parcel number 580202200420, otherwise known as 8745 Lewis Avenue. The subject site consists of approximately 9.37 plus or minus acres, which is the location of the Ivor J. Lindsay Housing. The submitted site plan is for an additional 4 parking spaces in a 670-square-foot maintenance garage. Per section 419.03, access building table, the site is allowed an unlimited amount of cumulative square footage for accessory structures. However, due to the proposed location of the accessory building in proximity to the existing structures, the Building and Planning Departments made a determination to use the size of the accessory building to determine the setbacks and meet the following ordinance requirements. A maximum 800 square foot, which they are proposing 670 square feet. Accessory building in an RME, elderly housing zoning district, requires a minimum of 10 feet from any building, a minimum of 5 feet from any side and rear property line, and a maximum height of 14 feet. While the site plan for the accessory building meets the requirements of the ordinance, proposed additional parking spaces are not required by ordinance, but have been reviewed and approved by the Monroe County Drain Commission, as there is an increase in hard surface. The Bedford Township Fire Department also reviewed, approved the plan. Due to the minimal impact the 670-square-foot accessory structure and increased parking area will have on the overall site, it was determined there was no need for engineering reviews, as the Monroe County Drain Commission, the Bedford Township Fire Department approved the plan from a drainage and safety aspect, and the building department will enforce setback requirements through the permitting process. Approvals have been received again from the Drain Commission dated March 6th with comment and conditions of the Bedford Township Fire Department on March 8th. And should site plan approval be granted, you may want to include the following. Final site plan approval shall be contingent on addressing all comments, conditions of the Monroe County Drain Commission review letter.
If there's a representative for Ivor J. Lindsay, can you please come to the podium? And could you just state your name and address, please?
Sure. My name is Ed Glowacki. I'm project architect, and I'm with the Buer Group at 314 Conan Street, Maumee, Ohio.
Thank you. So the,
Would you like to talk about the grant? Grant, would you like to talk about the grant? Do you want to speak on that at all? I'm sorry.
that's right. I drove by there today, and there is a current shed-like structure there. Is that one going to be gone then?
No, that will remain in place.
Okay, this is going to be moved to the side of it then?
It won't be as back far north as that shed.
Okay, I was just trying to
currently
get a visualization of it.
is. Right. The enclosure that will house the dumpster will be moved over, and Building A, it will be set 18 feet from Building A, about 2/3 of the way back.
Okay. Yes.
Have you complied with all the issues that were addressed in a letter from the Monroe County Drain Commissioner dated March 6th? Have you complied with all of that?
Yes, we have. Our civil engineers, ESA, have been in communication and have forwarded them updated drawings.
Yeah, well, the Deputy Drain Commissioner just shook his head up and down. Well, otherwise, we'd have to make the site plan approval subject to. Go ahead.
On these, and I know these parking places aren't required, is this just overflow or? Because I'm looking at it, and the very first one looks like it almost could be a handicap spot. Is that what that is?
They are not specifically designated a handicap, but there's certainly sufficient area to have that.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if that was a standard 9x20 parking space, it's going to be a little hard for that vehicle to back up and get out of the parking place. So, and I don't see any solution to it, so you might want to consider just eliminating that, the very first spot there on the west.
Do you need that spot? Is that just extra? Do you need that spot there that Dennis is talking about?
We were directed to give them as much parking spaces that they could have for the snowplow and things like that. And we are looking at a alternate of an additional 3 spots to the west should bids come in favorable.
Is this storage building, is this going to be post and frame?
No, it'd be 2x6 construction with manufactured trusses.
Okay.
And it would be an unheated facility and no plumbing in the building.
And then the gutters and everything, I'm sure are going to be focused or directed towards that retention pond. I don't know if we got that far yet on
Well, the
design
gutters will
elements and-
basically come down, it'll be surface drainage, and the drainage will drain to that new detention area, yes.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the final site plan for Ivory Lindsay Housing on parcel 5802-022-004-20, otherwise known as 8745 Lewis Avenue in Temperance. I think the addition of, and that approval is contingent based on the conditions and comments laid out by the Monroe County Drain Commission and the Bedford Township Fire Department. I think this site plan has minimal impact outside of what's currently there.
Support.
Stefan votes yes. Mr. Darbert?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Zybek,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mr. Fritz,
Yes.
and Chairman Anger.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you so much.
At this time, we will have public comment for anybody who would like to come up to the podium and have public comment. If there's no public comment, I will move to some new information.
We tentatively have 2 items scheduled for the 28th meeting. Neither of those are ready at this point to be placed on the agenda, so please keep that date in mind, because we may or may not have a meeting on that date.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Also, if I might add, I did send in, I sent an email out a couple of weeks ago regarding if someone wanted to attend a workshop, Wayne County Community College. We do have one member, Ron, is going to be attending. The reservations for that workshop have already been sent in. However, if you wish to attend anything after today's date would be late, and we would have to pay an additional $25. However, if anyone is interested, then we will still be able to do that.
Thank you, Karen. And at this time, any commission or staff comments? Karen?
Nothing.
Mr. Dodd?
Have somebody change the clock?
It needs cleaned.
We haven't started yet.
I'm sorry Sue left, because for those who don't know, she has been the executive director of Ivor Lindsay for a long time. And I noticed in the paper the other day an advertisement to replace her, and I just talked to her tonight, and she's going to leave us. And I'm going to drag her in front of the township board to thank her for all the years of service that she has provided to all of those folks in Ivor Lindsay who need her help and need her support. And every one of those people were individually and collectively very important to her. So we'll be sorry to see her leave, but you know, she said, "Oh, I got to go to Florida once in a while." But in any event, I'm going to suggest that she come before the township board, and we recognize her service to the community. And for those who didn't know, every audit that HUD ever had at that place was superior. She never had, except a little nit once in a while, issues with respect to a HUD audit. I don't think there's very many facilities in this country that could make that claim. So we'll be watching and make sure she gets before the township board. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else. Thank you.
I have nothing.
Nothing at this time.
Nothing. I do have a question. There is a meeting that I don't recall what it is in Dundee. I tried to register and couldn't get through. I don't know if I didn't use caps. I don't know what I did. When is that, Karen?
That is next Wednesday,
21st.
21st. And it's at 6 o'clock, and it's at the mill. And I can get you the information, and I can see if we can get your name on the registration list tomorrow.
If you can, that'd be great.
Okay.
And they just let me know, I think I still have that email from you. But if you want to just put the details, time, I knew where it was, at the old mill. I just didn't recall what day and what time.
Okay.
So it's a week from tonight at 6 o'clock.
Correct.
Yeah, just let me know if you're able to get me on the list.
Okay. All righty.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there-
Question for Karen. Karen, I just got an email from Mr. Potter. Is that right? Do you have a phone number or something, or?
I
Should I
do.
just email him
I will
back?
give that to you after
Okay.
the meeting.
Thanks.
If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None.